Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
How are you doing? How's your morning going?
Oh, it's been amazing. Amazing. I woke up feeling so good. And then I went for a walk, and we live in a sort of gated community. And as I'm walking past the gate, the guy that was in there working is just singing at the top of his lungs that oldies song that's like, "Don't you forget about me. Da, 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 da." And I just turned around and just started like dancing in the street. And it was such a vibe. I was like, this is exactly how I want to start year 30.
Hell yeah. Also, what was the present your brother got you? I just looked at it on your story. Was it like a papaya with a note inside?
So I have a thing. Papaya is like my favorite fruit. I love papayas. And he put his note in the papaya and like what the gift is in the papaya. So I opened it thinking I was just opening half of a papaya from our fridge.
Well, the gift is
Yeah.
inside.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, well, I mean, we literally had no idea what our topic for this podcast was going to be until, like a few hours ago. And then when
Yeah.
I was like, why don't we literally just dive into, we're literally both turning 30 within the space of like 7 days between each other, really, isn't it? I think it is exactly a week, our birthdays. So
Yeah.
we're going through our
Yeah.
turns at the same
Yeah.
time. And yeah, I feel like we just dive into like the lessons of life so far, and like, well, I guess what we want to take with us moving forward into this next decade.
Yeah. For sure. And for anyone listening, if you don't know what a Saturn return is, it's basically the years when we're born, right? We have all these different placements, and this relates to human design, it relates to astrology, it really relates to everything because we're just living in this silly little matrix. And, anyways, all the planets are in specific places at the exact time and moment that we're born. And what happens is after around 28, 29, 30 years, Saturn makes its full orbit back to that same position that it started. And Saturn is this planet of, I mean, I'm no astrologer, but it's like it's karmic lessons, right? And everyone goes through this chapter toward the end of our 20s where it's like life sends challenge after challenge after challenge, specifically when we are living out of alignment with our truth, with our authenticity, with our design, right? And I think it hits people, so it hits some people harder than others, again, depending on how in alignment that you're living. But it's a potent and rich time of life. And you and I are both now coming out. I think there'll still be some residual time that it's impacting us, but we're both kind of coming out the other side of this Saturn return. And it's so funny to reflect back on because I remember very clearly when I was living in Canggu in Bali, when I had first come back after being in Sri Lanka and after the pandemic. And I was living with Holly, who's a mutual friend of ours. She's also a 2/4 emotional projector. So living with her was very, very easy. And, she's a year older than us. And she had a wild Saturn return. It was really, really intense for her. And I remember her telling me, like, buckle up, Erin, it's your turn now. And at the time I was kind of, I didn't believe that it was going to be challenging in any way, because to me, I felt like I had already found this like alignment. I had already been really doing the work for a long time. And I felt really kind of grounded. I was like, yeah, I think this is actually just going to be a really good time for me. And it's funny now to be on the other side of it and reflect and be like, oh, wow. Yeah, that shit hit me.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, like, I mean, even me looking in at yours, like, I'm like, I don't feel like it was like that, you know. But then when we're looking in at other people's lives versus like when we're actually in it, it's like, ugh, I mean, yeah, because with the Saturn return, it like peaks towards the age of what, 29, isn't it? Where it's like it starts to really get good and then it hits. Then you've got your
Yeah.
9 month gestation phase afterwards. Someone told me that recently. It might have been you. And I was like, are you joking? Like, what? I've got another 9 months of this shit,
Yeah.
you know? Um, but I don't know about you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Felt like, I would say like the past 6 months, I genuinely felt the difference in things. It really did feel like a series of either closed doors or like shoves towards something else where it was like, no, like literally, and it's almost like the energy it's felt like for me has been like brutal. It's been like, no, I'm taking this. Like, there's no warning. There's no, even like the wounds that are coming up, they come up so suddenly and so like dramatically that I was like, wait a minute, what? And it almost like for a while, even like the past month, I I was like, wait, who even am I now? Like I really have questioned a lot of this year, like all the things I thought I was, all the things, all the pieces of identity I'd held onto, thinking that is B. I don't want those things anymore.
Yeah. And it goes to show you like just how it doesn't matter if you're on the spiritual path. It doesn't matter if you're on the self development path. It doesn't matter if you've read the books. Maybe you do know human design. Maybe you've been living your human design for years, like we have. It doesn't matter because conditioning runs so deep. And I think that is also something that is a lesson that I've really learned is that the identities that we create or who we think we are, it's crazy how much of that actually is something that we have developed as a response to conditioning. And Saturn is here, and this phase in our lives are here to break that stuff down. And again, the deeper it is, the deeper the wound is, the deeper the attachment is, whatever that might be, the more intense I think that energy is going to come. Otherwise, we're not going to change. And it's this critical time period that is propelling us into the next phase of our lives, into this next chapter. And it's if we surrender to it, if we welcome what comes and we are willing to let go of all of that, what's waiting on the other side is so beautiful, so incredibly abundant and rich and just, yeah, I mean, it's going to look different for everybody, but I believe that there's nothing more incredible than being yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that just, I just had a bit of a drop then when you were saying that because even like I'm like year 4 and a bit into my human design experiment, and you know, there's the kind of base rule of like it takes 7 years minimum to decondition from something, right? Like, and that's minimum, you know. Um, have I froze? No.
You've been frozen, like your video's been frozen kind of the whole time, like just glitchy, but I
Yours is
can
the
hear
same, so
you.
I think it's just a data thing, but I'll carry on. Um, yeah, one thing that I really sat with this the other day, where I was like, the deconditioning process in itself, like I have so many clients that I speak to that really are hard on themselves, that they're still looping in patterns or they're still experiencing something that they want to be like rid of or they want to, you know, change. And I'm like, honey, you've probably got like 21 plus years of conditioning under your belt where you weren't even aware that there was patterns, you weren't even aware that there was problems. So let's say you have 21 years of conditioning and then you're like me and you, 29 turning 30. That's 8 years of awareness. Now let's like knock off 3 because that's just like at the beginning you're just kind of like, what does this mean? It's gonna take time. Like, it doesn't just happen overnight, because all that conditioning. Why do you think
Yeah.
that we have kindergarten, school, job, university, all of these pathways that are so like designed to condition us a certain way? That's not going to be unraveled overnight. It's like you even see like military or kids that have been raised a certain way, and they have these habits that can't be broken because it's how they've done their daily life, day after day after day. Like, I think we've mentioned this before. I would sit there at school and we'd be told to literally sit with our arms crossed and our fingers on our lips. Like, that's basically saying don't speak unless you're spoken to. So all of these pieces to unravel, it's huge. And I mean, I've definitely sat with recently, like, really, really just sat with, like, what do I like and what do I not like? And what is it that I actually want to do versus. And I think human design has been such a beautiful piece for that, because that allows you to go, oh, it's a no. I feel this no, and this no isn't coming from my mind. It's coming from my body. So I think having that
Yeah.
tool is so valuable.
Agreed. Agreed. 100%. I think that's been a huge lesson for me. There's been kind of two, like the themes of the challenges that have shown up for me during this phase have been two part. One has been a lot of just healing, like going back to my childhood, going back to memories, certain things that I've carried with me, and doing a lot of emotional release. Actually, I would say that was a big piece, because I've talked about this before on the podcast, but being an emotional authority, being an emotional being, and not feeling my emotions for 10 plus years means there's been this huge backlog that I've been chipping away through. And I think that there've been some massive breakthroughs the last 6 months where it's like I've finally released the dam and have just been releasing. And then the second part has been letting go of control and letting go of the strategic conditioning that I have. So I've also talked about this in the last episode with my brother, being a quad right, being someone with an entirely receptive mind, receptive body, not being someone who's here to have like a focus and a strategy and an intention in my life, like, but instead being open to all the possibilities and fully surrendered to life basically just taking me where I need to go. That has brought a lot of lessons, because what I've found is when I try to control things, or when I try to be like, okay, I want this to happen, so I'm going to go and make it happen in this way, the universe comes and kicks me on my bum, where it's like I have physical manifestations of that, of like that tension within my body of like, this isn't right. And really just being able to take my hands off the wheel and come back to my authority, come back to my design, and just trust. Like, that has been such a huge theme for me.
Yeah, the control's a big one. And like, it's so easy to think you're not controlling, especially when you get into the personal development like journey where you're like, no, I don't control. Like, I really trust but there's so much control. Like, we really want to have like this hands-on experience, but yeah, it's becoming apparent to me too. Like, actually, you can only control so much. The rest is literally just, it's gonna happen, like whether you like it or not. I love what you said there
Yeah.
about the emotions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I've been experiencing a very similar thing recently with the emotions. I mean, I've always been emotional. I've pretty much never turned that tap off. I would say. But one thing I have realized recently is I'm refacing a lot of the feelings that I felt when I broke my jaw in the accident, because when I look back, and it's been really such a lesson these past couple of months of boundaries. And I mean, you know me, you know how fast paced I move, you know how productive I can be, you know how much I know how productive I can be. And there's this almost like sometimes addiction to doing and being, and that's being for myself, being for other people. Just like I've kind of started to realize in a lot of people's eyes, I'm the person that can do it all. I'm the person that's always available. I'm the person that people can lean on. And it actually was triggered recently. Obviously, you've seen me teetering like in and out of burnout, but I met one of my friends who's back on the island, and he saw me when I was going through like the thick of it. And the thing is, when I was going through the thick of that, I was super happy. It was like I've been given a second chance at life. I was in pure survival mode and scaled my business, did everything. And now there was this part of me that's like, well, what happened? Like, why can't I be that now? Like, I would sit and read like old posts that I'd written and be like, why can't I be that creative? Like, I don't understand, like, how, when it was that hard then, like, why is it harder now? And he was asking me, he's like, why? Because I have been having to say no. I'm like, no, I can't go to that party. Like, no, I can't drive to Canggu to meet you. It's a no right now. A lot of things are no. And he was asking me, like, why? Like, what's wrong? And I was trying to unpack it with him. And I was like, you know what? I think for the longest time, refused to say that I was scared. I'm refusing to say how I really felt. And now I'm having to sit and go, you know what? Yeah, that was that was actually a shocking experience. That was terrifying. Like, you need to face how hard that was, how much that shaped you, how much that's going to change your whole identity from like that moment onwards. And I've never sat with that. And I've been really sitting with that like this week, particularly. And I've been like, shit, no, B, like, that was hard. Like, you can't brush that off anymore. Like, you need to really look at that. Like, that was horrific. That was a horrific experience. And instead of being like, yeah, like, it's all good. Now when people say something, I'm like, yeah, it was really, like, it was shocking. And I've not admitted that until now. And that's opened up so much
Wow.
that's now ready to come out. And it's like that, like, oh my God, how did you do that? And like soothing that person that I couldn't soothe at the time because I was shell shocked.
Right. Yeah. And you also, like, you didn't want to probably accept that there was someone that needed to be soothed. Because if there was someone who was not okay, what would that mean for you? You know, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you don't want to accept I'm not okay. So what do you do instead?
Yeah, absolutely. And also, I don't think back then I could accept that because I was in such a state of survival. Like, I had to survive that if I
Yeah, totally.
like marbles gone. You know, I had a few messages of people who had been in similar situations, and they like were like, I locked myself in my bedroom for 6 months. Like, I couldn't, like, it completely fucked me up. And I was like, oh my God, like, but you've just got to keep going. And they were like, yeah, but I can't. Like, what are you talking about? And I never understood that until
Wow.
now, that I'm like, oof. Like, they basically were like consumed by their trauma at that point. But I didn't allow that to happen. And it's almost like you said, it's like this little
Yeah.
like a leak or a tear, you know, and you're patching it up and you're patching it up, and then it just
Yeah.
and you're like, oh fuck.
Right. And that's the thing. It's like when you witness animals in the wild, when they experience a trauma, they what happens immediately is they shake. They shake and they move and they shake and they move the energy and they experience the trauma and then it's gone.
Yeah.
Right? But we, and the thing is, it's not that it's a bad thing, because that the way that you handled that situation allowed you to get through it when you were living in a country far away from home, when you didn't have the support systems that you would have needed to have to feel like safe and secure. So you did what you had to do to survive that, and you did, and that's incredible. But now it's like your body never actually got to release that trauma, so you're still carrying it and you're still holding on to it. And that's something that's not going to serve you in being the most aligned version of yourself. It's only going to inhibit you and get in the way of you being able to live your design and to listen to the messages of your body. So that's why this is the time that that comes back up, because it's basically energy saying, okay, now we got to let this go. You're ready.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And this is another piece, like when, the patterns come through or the emotions come back up, because even recently I had it with like partnership and like abandonment stuff where it came up and it was so raw and real and it felt like I was 15 years old again. And it's so funny looking to that. I mean, we spoke about this with the relationship thing in the relationship episode, but when I look now to how I felt like 3-4 weeks ago, and the same experiences are happening, and there's no trigger, like there's no right. There's no
Yeah.
response to my body now. And I'm like, how is it that 4 weeks ago I literally was in such a state of panic and my whole system was up in like warning bells? And now I'm like the same thing and I'm like, yeah, have a great time. See you later. Like, peace out. Don't care. I'm like, it's actually wild that so many of us, we re-experience these triggers and we push them back down, or we like react, when actually if we were to go, oh hey, like, right, this feels very familiar, it doesn't feel like a present experience, it feels old, like I recognize this, how can I give it what it needs, how can I rewrite this story my way, and then when you do it, it's gone. It's like, wait, what, that doesn't have charge anymore.
It's crazy how quickly that can happen. Crazy. I also had a similar experience back in February of this, what, like, and I'm someone who it's so, because I've done so much of this work, it is so hard to trigger me like to a real deep reaction in the moment. And I had a big trigger back in February that was like so connected to like a core deep wound of mine. And I mean, the emotions that again, because I allowed myself the space to actually feel into everything that needed to be felt and like go into the depths of the darkness that trigger was bringing to me. And literally from the next day on, it was gone, diffused, gone, never to be seen again. And it does get to be like that.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it's going back to identities. So many people identify themselves as like, oh, I'm just this way. Like, I'm a hothead about this. Like, almost creating like this persona of, I don't tolerate this kind of thing, right? If they get triggered a lot by a certain dynamic, they're like, oh, that's just kind of how I am. And it doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to be this charged, triggered person all the time when you can actually do that work and go into it. And like I said, I think human design is such an incredible tool to be able to navigate these times, because what it will show you is where those wounds lie and like what those blind spots are going to be, or what those weak points, I wouldn't say weak points, but like where it's going to help you dig into what you have available to let go of. For me, so much of it is around my undefined ego. I think you're probably very similar, like so much self-worth, so much
Proving.
yeah, just not feeling good enough and needing to prove, like it's like the baseline is you as an individual being. Like, this is the conditioning. Most people with an undefined ego are going to feel this way and resonate with this, but it's like the baseline is you by yourself is not good enough. Whether it's like you're not smart enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not outgoing enough, there's whatever the narrative is, the baseline is like not good enough, and you have to behave in certain ways, you have to show up in certain ways in order to prove to the world around you that you're good enough, right? And so when you can see that, the healing that needs to take place here is going so deep into that subconscious to see where that belief lies, that I'm not good enough inherently as I am, and heal those beliefs, heal those patterns, see that, oh, wait, no, I'm fully whole exactly as I am now. And that's where you can rebuild from.
Mm. You know what?
And I know with Leia, a big one for her, and she's, go ahead.
No, no, no. Go on, carry on. I've got it. I've tabled it.
I was going to say for for Leia, a big theme for her is her undefined solar plexus and taking in the emotions of others, and like her triggers come a lot from like speaking her truth and then having that not be met or accepted by others, taking in their emotions, then feeling like there's something wrong with her for having said that or having shared her truth. And that's what she focuses so much of her energy and attention on, is that wound and how that shows up, and basically remediating that trigger.
Yeah. What I was gonna say is it's so funny to me. Like this is one piece of the human conditioning that really gets me. Is you know when people say, "Oh, it's hereditary," so it's like cancer, it's in the fam, you know, or diabetes, it's in the fam, you know, arthritis, like my family's like arthritis, breast cancer, it's in the fam, like it's hereditary. And it's so interesting to me, especially when you look into a system like human design, because yeah, very well. It will be because you believe that it will be, right? Like you're inheriting that energy and you're identifying with that energy, and so you're creating that energy. But what if instead of so blindly, and this is what annoys me the most, is you will be sat having a conversation with someone and they will quite literally affirm that they are going to get that thing. Like, it's on all the doctor's forms. Do you have this in the fact? I don't tick it anymore. I literally don't fill it in, even though, like, technically I do. I don't fill it in. I'm like, I don't choose that. Like, because I get to choose my health and how I navigate. But then, what if instead of deciding and just blindly deciding and signing yourself up to some kind of fate, you looked at your human design and was like, actually, this is what I'm susceptible to. I'm susceptible to giving away my worth. I'm susceptible to trying to prove myself. I also have an open spleen, so I am susceptible to taking on this kind of conditioning, right? Open spleen. Oh, it's hereditary. Oh, I'm in the doctors and they're telling me that I need to do this and this and this when my body is saying, no, you don't. So now I know I'm susceptible to that behavior. I can take my power back. Like, excuse me, how amazing. You know, I'm really at the moment like looking at pieces in the human design like system where I'm like, this applies to everyone. Like, I feel like really taking the human design off that, like, it's not spiritual, it's science, it's health. You know, and it blows my mind how like attached we are to these
Yeah.
terms and like pieces.
Yeah. Exactly. It's so true. Another thing I'm excited to play with. So now that again we're coming out the other side of our Saturn returns, environment is something that becomes incredibly critical after our Saturn return. And we all have a specific environment that again is going to be most nourishing for our design. It's the environment that's basically going to feed our energy. And you can find this in your human design, and it becomes relevant after this Saturn return period, after we kind of get catapulted through this energy and hopefully come more into ourselves. And being in the right environment, I mean, think about it, because it's how you nourish your body. It's your environment is something that is capable of either nourishing or constricting you from receiving what it is that you need. And I'm really excited to play with this as we now enter into this new phase, because it's kind of been something that, I mean, I've been playing with it already, right? Like, because I've been aware I'm a shores environment, and there's 6 different environments. There's caves, markets, kitchens, shores, mountains, and valleys. And I've already been playing with this, starting to attune myself to like, okay, what feels good? How can I learn about this sort of environment? What are the areas that are going to be most nourishing for me? But that's all been kind of like training wheels. I've been like practicing for now when it becomes really, really relevant. But I think that's one piece that can be so valuable to, not even that it's so valuable, it's just essential, right? But I'm excited to start really working with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know if like I've really noticed this recently with the caves piece for me. Like even today, I went to Uluwatazan in the little upstairs cavey bit, and I'm like, oh yeah, look again. I naturally took myself there. Like I feel like I very naturally gravitate to the cave locations. You know, is it the same for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, and what I love about the environments in human design is it's not literal. It's not like I'm a shores environment. So it doesn't mean that I have to live on the beach. However, living on the beach is something that will be very aligned for me, but like same for you. You don't have to live in a literal cave, but it's what does a cave represent? And of the 6 environments, you can break them down into 2 categories. We have hardscapes and landscapes. Hardscapes being those first 3, the caves, the mountains, the kitchens. And then the second 3 being the landscapes, shores, mountains, and valleys. Hardscapes are what we consider to be the more urban environments. And it's funny because you hear like cave, right? And in theory, like a cave, that's like the most primitive, primal um, dwelling. But it's kind of like that was the first urban environment that our species developed, right? Where all of a sudden there was a protected area where communities could come together and convene and live together. And so it was the first representation of almost like an urban environment. Um, and that's one piece that's so important. And Ra really tried to highlight this in his lectures on environment, that attuning to whether you're meant to be in a more urban environment or a more natural environment becomes so important. And there are people that are actually designed to be living in more like populated, dense areas where there's noise pollution, you can hear what's going on, like versus people that need the simplicity, they need the open air. And how many people struggle with their health because simply they're just not in the right environment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm even feeling that here, and I mean, I guess
Like
this
it's
is.
that simple.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I definitely know right now, like, wrong place. You're in the wrong place. Like, it's so clear to me right now. Like, I've definitely been in the right place in Bali before because I've always chose the caves. Like, I felt cavey, and it is a bit urban here. But it's funny because when I learned that about the urban piece, I was a little bit triggered because I was like, I don't want to live. I don't want to live like in a city. That's where my mind went. I don't want to live in a city. But then when I actually thought about it, I was like, I love Barcelona. I loved Amsterdam. I loved these cities that were spread out. I also loved La Palma, Tenerife, which is not, it's not urban, but there's a lot of buildings. There's a lot of windy roads with houses on them. And it's like, oh, actually, no, I do like the being like houses and structures. Like, I like being able to pop into the town. I like to go to a coffee shop. I like to have my necessities available. And one thing about like here is that it's there's so much available, but if you were to go a few hours out, you're not going to get that. You're going to get full landscape. And that actually, like, I don't like the thought of just being completely barren, right? So it's like really sinking into, ooh, like
Yeah.
actually it is aligned.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, and that's it's so normal, right? We get, because that goes back to these identities, right? Where we have an idea of what we want or what we think we want based on conditioning. But when we really sit with like, okay, but what actually feels good, then we can start to tune into what's correct for us. And what's amazing as well is like your cave environment. So you can create a cave anywhere that you go, and that's why you've been able to, still be in Bali now, living in a place that isn't super aligned for you. It's not the place that you inevitably want to stay, but you can create your cave and still find ways to nourish yourself within the environment that you're in. But the overarching theme is that, okay, but this isn't going to be, or this is going to be temporary because it's not aligned. And that's also how I felt in Bali. It's like I always tried to find my shore, but at the end of the day, the environment itself wasn't sustainable. And even where I am now, like I'm in the suburbs of San Juan. And I mean, right now I'm sitting in this perfect shores room. It's like a sunroom, windows everywhere, on the edge of the garden. But it's in an urban area. I'm living in a suburb, these cookie cutter houses. And I know that's not right for me. The best places I've ever lived have been like these small surf towns, and I'm living on the edge of the town, and I can kind of ride my bicycle in, and it's very like I have the small community. And that's also the kind of difference. It's like urban areas there's more populace, there's more diversity, there's more kind of people and happenings, whereas the landscape environments are more quaint community, tighter knit populaces. And I definitely prefer that. And it's funny, similar to you, it's like I lived in New York City and I loved New York. I still do. Like New York will always have such a special place in my heart. I love that city so much. But if I tried to live there, it would kill me. Especially now, like that was, I was 25 when I was living there, 24. And now, as I'm going to be coming on the other side of Saturn Return, this is when it becomes critical and very important. And I know I'm not going to intentionally put myself in any of these like super urban environments, these hardscapes for long periods of time moving forward, because I know that that is only going to take me away from my design and my mechanics.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you were the happiest recently when you were in that little, where did you go in Bali, the little island that you spent 2 months on, and you were just like loving life.
Oh, that's so true. Oh my gosh. It's Simalu. Simalu, this tiny little island in Sumatra. Tiny island, entirely Muslim, so different from anywhere I've ever lived. And it was so wholesome. I felt so nourished. I was living right on the beach, and I would walk to my little surf spot, and there were all these like little families just living on the road that would wave to me when I walked, and so wholesome.
Yeah. And
But it's funny because I knew I was hitting that wall in Bali of like, this is not the right environment for me, but it's not time to leave yet. And I was like, how can I seek out what is going to feel nourishing to me while I'm here?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, you literally, yeah, I remember this like plain as day where it was like, I can't be there, but I've got to be somewhere. Like, so I'll just go here and I'm staying longer. And like, you were just living in like a local like place where you, there was no like luxuries and yeah, but I feel like that was the exact medicine you needed and the clarity that you needed. I think you needed to experience not fully leaving Bali, but leaving Bali to know that it was
Yeah.
like it's time to go. And I feel like I'm kind of at that place right now because
Yeah.
I'm going to be spending more time in Australia, so I'm not fully leaving yet, but I'm testing the waters.
Yeah. I think that's perfect. And again, it gives you something to respond to. Like this setup of like, okay, you get to go to somewhere new and just be present and tune into your authority and tune into like, and doing that over time, you know, that you don't have to make this quick decision. You get to go, you test it out, you sample your little responses, you see what places feel good, you see how you can find and make your caves within this urban environment, and over time you're going to get that clarity. But I really do think you're going to love Australia. I mean, I think anyone in their right mind would love Australia. But especially, yeah, I mean, being out on the West Coast.
Honestly,
Because that to me also, it's like, yes, it's urban, but you're still going to get, like, you're still going to feel so connected to nature and beauty. And it's not that like urban that we think of like fast paced, intense. Also coming from Bali, I think we kind of forget that urban environments can exist that aren't overwhelming to your nervous system. You get so used to in Bali the chaos, as you know, and I think that you can have both an urban environment and a very peaceful, calm, tranquil experience.
yeah, I completely agree. And honestly, like even feeling my body now, how excited I am. Like I'm not excited as in like going on holiday excited. It feels really big. It feels really like my life's about to change big, you know? And this is why I'm taking the week off because I'm like, I don't want there to be any external stimulus that doesn't need to be experienced. Like, I'm going to be fully present in this experience and really see how my body responds. Because I am honestly, I'm just like counting the days, and I'm not one to rush days away, but I'm just like, I just feel like my nervous system is going to be just like, like, what happened? You know, because there's so much chaos here, and it's just chaotic. Even like I just put a pizza box in the bin, and like 5 dogs just had a fight over it, and it's just like wow, like you know, you're always kind of on edge somehow. And like for me especially, that's just not what I'm available for anymore. Like I just can't do it anymore. It's like a stack. I've got this like stack of responses that
Yeah.
I need to have space to I don't know how to describe it, but I feel like there's been like this like build up of my nervous system dysregulation that needs to like re-regulate for me to be able to come back here and be like, oh god, I can handle it again now.
Totally. Yeah. I don't know about you though, but I feel so, actually I do know about you. I know you're going to feel the exact same way, but I feel so optimistic about everything that's coming, like coming now onto this edge of 30. Like doesn't it feel like such a pivotal time? And I mean for both of us, like you're about to go to Australia and see what unfolds there. I'm getting ready to go to Portugal, see what unfolds there, and it just feels like, I mean, let's all just acknowledge that we're all freaking warriors for going down this path that we've chosen and doing this work, because it's not easy at all. It would be so much easier to just ignore it and to just keep playing in our little simulations and stick to these identities that we've created. But oh my gosh, it does pay off, and it pays off, yeah, with opportunities and just things that we never could have imagined. And I just feel like we're both just, yeah, just getting ready to like pop out and be like, we've arrived. Hello.
I fully agree. Yeah, and I mean, it's real. I've always had this like really strong intuitive like 30 30. Like I've just had, that's how it comes through in my intuition, 30. Like there's no follow up, there's no this is what that means. It's just like pay attention when you hit 30. And I've never been one for birthdays either, but this one I'm like, this is special, something special about this one. And yeah, but also if you think about it, this is the way the society's conditioned us again. 30 to me now, what I believe is it's our astrological coming of age. Like I think you're basically a child until you're 30, because the kind of lessons and the perspective shifts that I'm having in regard to like finances, in regard to home, in regard to friendships, connections, myself, my values, they're all changing massively. Like the way I was a year ago is not anything close to the way that I see the world now. And Ben actually pulled me up on this, and he's a line 6, so he's like got that role model aspect in him. And he said, "Be like, you 2 years ago is a completely different human being to now, and it's not that you've changed in your like personality, it's just that you've changed in like you've matured, like you've really matured. That's the word I would use." And I was like, at first I was like, what do you mean? But then I was like, you're right, actually. A lot of the things I would scoff at, the way that I look at life now, I'd be like, oh, like a little bit like uptight, aren't you? Or I would look at myself as like boring or something, whereas now I'm like, no, you've kind of always been this way or wanted to be this way, you've just never had the kind of assertiveness within yourself to like be it.
Yeah. What we need to normalize is exactly that. Adolescence takes us until we're 30. We need to get out of this idea that like you come of age at 18, because that's old seven-centered way living beliefs. Back when our lifespans was only, to 55 years old, right? Like that was a different time. We were a different fucking species. Our bodies were different. Our energetic genetic makeups were different. Now we have these lifespans that are so much longer. Adolescence takes us until we're 30. So we need to stop trying to act like we're grown up and we know the answers when we're 20 years old, because we don't. And the more that we can create that space of like just allowing ourselves to be in that growth phase until this pivotal point, how much resistance would we eliminate?
Oh my god, hell fucking yeah. I love the way you put that with the like we used to die at 30, you know, like in the Roman times, like 30 was like you're old, mate. Like you've really lived a life. And yeah, actually, no, now it's like if you were to die at 30, it's a real shocking loss because like not really like it's not expected like that anymore. Wow, yeah, I love that because it's so true. And then you've got people who this is why so many people also like starting their lives at 22, getting everything check the box, and then they hit 35 and they're like fuck this and like blow their lives up and start again, which again is fine and it's so divinely orchestrated, but it's like we're not in a rush. Like this is another piece that's brought me a lot of peace is like the stories about millionaires and things that start their businesses at like 43 or 53 or 60, and they start these completely new businesses that just skyrocket because obviously these people have got lifetimes of less, like they've got so many lessons under their belt that whatever they pour into, like it's gonna work when you're older as well because you've also got, oh, that didn't work, that didn't work, like it's the archive of experience. It's like it's never too late ever.
Yeah,
So if I had to say to you, if we rounded this up,
so
if
true.
I had to say to you, like, what is kind of, if you, I don't know, what's coming through is if you had to kind of give yourself like a message to carry with you, if you had to give yourself kind of like one lesson or tell someone else, or maybe even tell someone else that's going through, like about to go through, like, what would a piece of advice be?
Surrender to the idea that your life might look completely different than you ever could have imagined.
Yeah.
Like that's it.
Yeah.
And allow that possibility to unfold.
I feel like you just channeled direct wisdom for me there. That was what I needed to hear. Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful.
Because that's it. It's like Saturn's going to take you on a ride, and the people that have the greatest struggles are the ones that fight it. And the ones that try to say like, no, but this is what I this want, this is what I had planned, this is how things are going to look, this is what my relationship is going to be like. And oftentimes that's not the reality. That's mind games. And being able to surrender to the idea that your life could look completely different than you ever could have imagined. And your only way to know and your only way to navigate that is through your strategy and authority.
Yeah, absolutely. It really is. Like, that's all you really need. Truly. Oof. And I think mine would be um, not to be afraid to let go of something that you thought was going to be it, and just let it, release it, let it go. That's been a big one for me. Like, really, like, it's okay for something that you thought was going to like shape your whole experience for it not to be it anymore, and to let that go and build.
Yeah.
Just let it go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I really noticed.
There's so much power in that. Haven't you had those moments where it's like the greatest confrontation happens, like at that point where you're like trying not to let it go, not to let it go, and it's so intense and you have the emotional release and it's all this, and then all of a sudden you let it go and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
that wasn't so bad.
Yeah. Because it's also like it's swimming against the current. So as the harder you hold on to it, the more friction you're causing. So then when you do let it go, yeah, it's really hard, but at the same time, it's such a release because finally the dam can break. Finally, like the water can flow again. And yeah, that's exactly what I really sat with recently, where it was like, just because you thought things were going to look a certain way doesn't mean they have to look that way. Like, that's the only way they have to be. There's no shame in it actually looking different. And I think that's going to be a big one for a lot of people to hear, because there's so much there of like, follow this path, and if you need it to work out because you spent so much time on it. But actually, this, I mean, this is coming from a line 3. There's never anything wasted because you get to pour from experience and you're always learning the lessons. So,
Yeah. Well, I think that is a great way to wrap things up. Little couple little mic drops for everyone to sit with and reflect on and contemplate, and as we always say, take what resonates and leave what doesn't. But for anyone who is going through their Saturn return or wrapping it up or getting ready to start it, just surrender and allow human design to be something that can bring you stability during a time that might feel very unstable, because you always have yourself, you always have your strategy and authority to rely on, and to trust that if you can follow those mechanics, you will move through this time in the way that's right for you. And that's it.